You already know how good a story game can be if you've played games like The Witcher 3, Red Dead Redemption 2, or God of War. But scroll through Steam and half the story-rich recommendations are bloated checklists or vibes with no payoff. This video is the clean list. 15 narrative-heavy PC games on Steam, why they actually land, what you're doing minute to minute, and roughly how long they take to finish. No spoilers, no lore dumps, just straight answers on which ones are worth your time.
You know, I've never been this close. Is the outside?
So is that everything you hoped for?
Can't be any worse out there.
The Last of Us Part 1 makes every single bullet feel like a desperate luxury you can't afford to waste. You play as a broken, cynical smuggler dragging a hardened teenage girl across a quarantined America where the remaining humans are far more dangerous than the infected. The story hits because it's not a glorious, heroic quest to save the world. It's a grueling character study about trauma, selfishness, and how far a broken father figure will go to protect his own. Minute to minute, you're not a superhero. You're constantly scavenging for scraps of rags and alcohol to craft a single medkit, choking out guards in the pitch black, and praying your makeshift shiv doesn't break when a clicker suddenly grabs you. Standout detail: the enemy AI actively hunts you down. Human enemies will call out to their friends by name if they find a dead body, and they will aggressively push your position the exact second they hear your gun click empty. If you want a masterclass in linear cinematic storytelling that completely respects your time, this is required playing. The critical path takes about 15 hours. Most action RPGs lean entirely on Western mythology or grimdark aesthetics. Black Myth, Wukong drops you into a beautifully bizarre interpretation of Chinese folklore that doesn't hold your hand. You play as the Destined One, a silent monkey warrior retracing the steps of a fallen legend to collect lost ancient relics. The story hits because it unfolds through cryptic encounters, tragic boss lore, and stunning animated shorts that reveal the sad hidden histories behind the monsters you just killed. Minute to minute, you explore lush environments, dodge relentless attack patterns, and manage your stamina while unleashing rapid staff combos. You survive by perfectly timing evasions and using magical transformations to briefly turn into the very creatures you've defeated, freezing enemies or leaving decoys to escape fatal blows. Standout detail: the boss designs are wildly creative, ranging from a giant bear kicking up blinding sandstorms to a headless monk singing eerie folk songs during combat. The fluidity of your staff stances makes you feel like an actual martial arts master, seamlessly flowing from defense to heady slams. If you want an aggressive, visually stunning mythic journey with grueling fights, the core story takes roughly 35 hours. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 forces you to fight against a literal countdown to human extinction. You play as a doomed team of explorers trying to kill a godlike entity that wakes up once a year to erase everyone of a certain age. The story hits because there is a suffocating sense of finality to everything you do. Every character is already living on borrowed time. Minute to minute, you explore surreal, impossible landscapes, manage party resources, and engage in turn-based combat that demands actual reflexes instead of just menu clicking. You have to actively dodge and parry enemy strikes in real time, making every fight a tense test of timing rather than just stats. Standout detail: the world design is hauntingly beautiful, with massive reality-bending set pieces that reflect the twisted nature of the paintress. Combat animations are fluid and desperate, perfectly capturing the exhaustion of a suicide mission. If you want a mechanically fresh RPG with a narrative built entirely around grief and defiance, this is worth your attention, taking about 30 hours to clear the main path. And this is a game for those who come after. Most sci-fi RPGs make you the savior of a shiny, futuristic city. Cyberpunk makes you a desperate mercenary who just wants to survive a corporate meat grinder. You play as an ambitious street kid who steals a highly classified biochip only to get it stuck in your head with the digitized ghost of a dead terrorist taking over your brain. The story hits because it's a ticking clock about losing your own identity, and realizing that Night City eventually chews up everyone who tries to beat it. Minute to minute, you drive through neon-soaked streets, hack security cameras, engage in chaotic gunfights, and slice through enemies with arm blades. You constantly swap out your own body parts for cybernetics to keep up with the increasing lethality of the gangs and corpus hunting you. Standout detail: the first-person dialogue scenes are incredibly immersive. Characters pace the room, smoke, avoid eye contact, or physically threaten you while you retain full control to look around. Braindance sequences let you scrub through a victim's recorded memories to find hidden audio and visual clues. If you want a massive, redemption-filled dystopian narrative with incredible build variety, the main story will run you about 25 hours. God of War tears down its own violent past to tell a quiet story about trying to be a better father. You play as an aging, exiled Spartan god, taking his young son on a dangerous journey to scatter his dead wife's ashes. The story hits because the real tension isn't whether you can kill the monsters, but whether you can stop your son from inheriting your generational rage. Minute to minute, you solve environmental puzzles, row boats through mythical lakes, and engage in heavy, deliberate combat where crowd control is essential. Every swing of your axe carries massive weight, and you have to actively manage your son's bow attacks to survive overwhelming encounters. Standout detail: the Leviathan axe is the star of the show. Throwing it into a Draugr's skull and recalling it to your hand with a heavy thud never gets old. The camera never cuts away, tracking the entire journey in one unbroken, exhausting shot that keeps you grounded in their struggle. If you want an action game that balances brutal combat with genuine emotional maturity, this is essential, clocking in around 20 hours. Hades 2 treats death as just another excuse to advance the plot and catch up with family. You play as the immortal princess of the underworld, fighting your way to the surface to assassinate the Titan of Time who imprisoned your family. The story hits because it's fundamentally about generational trauma and the crushing weight of trying to save people you barely even know. Minute to minute, you clear rooms of enemies, collect temporary godly boons, and experiment with aggressive weapon builds before inevitably dying and returning to camp. Back at base, you spend resources upgrading your stats, planting seeds, and gifting nectar to a massive cast of fully voiced, deeply flawed gods who react to your recent failures. Standout detail: the Titan Kronos literally bends the game's UI during boss fights, threatening to alter time itself or completely disabling your ability to pause the game. Every weapon has a unique sprint and cast mechanic that fundamentally changes how you approach crowd control. If you want a flawless loop of addictive combat paired with endless narrative progression, the main clear takes about 30 hours.
You think you have the strength to protect the weak? Then prove to me these are more than empty words.
Metaphor: ReFantazio turns the genre into a high-stakes, anxiety-inducing political election. You play as a marginalized outcast entering a deadly tournament for the throne to break a curse placed on the rightful prince. The story hits because it tackles heavy themes of prejudice and class warfare, forcing you to win over a deeply divided public that hates you simply for existing. Minute to minute, you balance a strict daily calendar, diving into dangerous dungeons by day and building political alliances by night. Combat revolves around discovering enemy weaknesses and swapping your party's archetype's magical job classes, so you aren't instantly wiped out by a single bad turn. Standout detail: the combat UI is a visual masterpiece, splashing stylish, aggressive typography across the screen with every critical hit or level up. The Gauntlet Runner functions as your mobile base, letting you cook, read, or bond with party members in real time while traveling across the map. If you want a massive, stylish RPG where social strategy matters as much as swordplay, prepare to invest around 80 hours. Most modern adventure games have turned into generic third-person shooters with climbing ledges. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle brings back the desperate, messy feeling of classic pulp exploration. You play as the iconic archaeologist racing sinister Axis forces across the globe to uncover the secret behind a series of perfectly aligned ancient sites. The story hits because it captures the exact cinematic tone of the films. You are consistently outgunned, relying on your wits and sheer luck to survive. Minute to minute, you navigate dense tombs, decode environmental puzzles with your journal, and use stealth and distractions to slip past heavily armed patrols. When stealth inevitably fails, combat is a panicked scramble of throwing bottles, cracking the whip to disarm enemies, and throwing wild punches instead of just hiding behind cover and shooting. Standout detail: the whip isn't just a combat tool, it's fully integrated into traversal, letting you swing across deadly gaps or rip environmental hazards down onto enemies in real time. Solving a massive crypt puzzle feels genuinely rewarding because the game refuses to handhold you with glowing objective markers. If you want a focused, immersive historical thriller that feels like playing a lost movie, expect to spend about 15 hours.
The parasites are merely a symptom of a greater sickness in Faerun. The infected hear the voice of the Absolute and believe it to be a god.
Most RPGs brag about player choice, then funnel everyone back to the same 3 outcomes. Baldur's Gate 3 actually lets your decisions wreck relationships, derail quests, and send the story down paths that don't feel pre-approved. You play as an infected survivor carrying a mind flayer parasite, trying to find a cure before the thing in your skull turns you into something monstrous. The story hits because it turns every alliance into a risk. Nobody joins you without baggage, and the more power you chase, the more the game keeps asking what kind of person you're becoming in the process. Minute to minute, you explore dangerous areas, talk your way through standoffs, loot anything useful, and stumble into fights where positioning, preparation, and party composition matter more than brute force. Even basic encounters can go wrong fast, so every spell slot, healing item, and dialogue check feels like something you might regret wasting. Standout detail: the Druid Grove conflict is where the game makes its point early. You're not just picking a good or bad option, you're deciding who gets protected, who gets used, and who gets wiped out, and the world keeps that score. Companion reactions also aren't cosmetic fluff. A choice one character respects can make another look at you like you've been rotten from the start. If you want a story-driven RPG that actually respects consequences instead of pretending they exist, this is one of the easiest recommendations on Steam, and the main story can run around 60 hours if you stay focused.
Evil is evil. Lesser, greater, middling, makes no difference.
Can't fit me!
Bring her down. Do it my way. You like that, you bitch? Get the hammer. Kick her teeth in.
The degree is arbitrary, the definition's blurred. If I'm to choose between one evil and another, I'd rather not choose at all.
Just make it quick, Geralt.
Most fantasy RPGs treat you like the chosen one saving the world. The Witcher 3 treats you like a tired professional just trying to find his family in a war zone. You play as a mutated monster hunter tracking down his adopted daughter before an otherworldly cavalry catches her first. The story hits because it forces you to choose between bad and worse, making you live with the muddy consequences of trying to do the right thing in a terrible place. Minute to minute, you investigate gruesome crime scenes, prepare specific oils and signs for hunts, negotiate contracts with desperate peasants, and constantly weigh if drawing your sword is worth the trouble. You're always poor, always hated, and always one mistake away from a messy death. Standout detail: the bloody barren questline traps you in a miserable domestic tragedy disguised as a monster hunt. You're not fighting an evil overlord, you're untangling a broken family's trauma while a literal aborted monster stalks the rain-soaked swamps. If you want a dark fantasy story where your choices leave genuine scars, this is mandatory playing, and the main story takes roughly 50 hours. Death Stranding makes the act of walking the single most terrifying and engaging mechanic in the game. You play as a freelance courier trying to reconnect the isolated bunkers of a ruined America while avoiding invisible, supernatural predators. The story hits because it's a deeply isolating experience about the human need for connection in a world completely broken by grief and disaster. Minute to minute, you manage inventory weight, balance your center of gravity, plot safe routes across harsh terrain, and hold your breath to sneak past ghostly entities. Taking a wrong step on a steep hill doesn't just drain health, it destroys the vital cargo you spent the last 20 minutes carefully hauling across a mountain. Standout detail: you can use ropes, ladders, and bridges left behind by other real-world players you never actually see, creating a powerful sense of anonymous teamwork. When the timefall rain starts pouring, the sky turns black and your sensor starts rapidly clicking. The tension is suffocating. If you want an incredibly unique, slow-burn sci-fi narrative about logistics and survival, the main delivery takes around 40 hours.
We sure cause a lot of explosions.
Split fiction uses co-op to actively mess with two entirely different realities at the same time. You and a partner play as twin writers navigating parallel dimensions, trying to fix a shattered multiverse caused by a torn manuscript. The story hits because it explores the friction of creative differences and sibling rivalry, making your real-world communication essential to surviving the game's chaotic logic. Minute to minute, you're calling out clues on your screen that your partner needs to solve a puzzle on theirs, swapping perspectives and timing your jumps perfectly. A platform that exists in one player's dimension might be a deadly hazard in the other's, forcing you to constantly dictate the rules of gravity and space to each other. Standout detail, the screen physically splinters during reality rifts, suddenly dragging your character into your partner's aesthetic style, turning a grim noir setting into bright cel-shaded cartoons instantly. Certain bosses require one player to distract the enemy in 3D while the other drops hazards on them from a 2D top-down view. If you want a mind-bending, story-rich puzzle experience built from the ground up for two people, the campaign takes roughly 12 hours. Most detective games make you a genius piecing together clues. Disco Elysium makes you a hungover wreck trying to piece together your own shattered mind. You play as an amnesiac cop waking up in a trashed hotel room, tasked with solving a hanging while dealing with the competing voices inside your head. The story hits because your biggest enemy isn't the murderer, it's your own crippling regrets and the crumbling, politically charged city around you. Minute to minute, you walk through decaying streets, interrogate locals, and navigate massive dialogue trees where your own stats randomly interject to argue with you. A high empathy stat might help you read a suspect, but it also makes you painfully vulnerable to their sadness. Standout detail, your skills literally talk to you like unhinged party members. Failing a logic check doesn't just mean you miss a clue. It means your brain confidently feeds you a terrible lie, and you have to deal with the embarrassing fallout of acting on it. If you want a masterclass in writing that plays out entirely through dialogue and bad decisions, this is unrivaled, and the main story takes about 25 hours. BioShock hands you a gun, gives you superpowers, and then asks if you actually had a choice in the matter. You play as a plane crash survivor who discovers Rapture, a ruined underwater utopia completely overrun by genetically mutated citizens. The story hits because it systematically tears apart the philosophy of unchecked greed, using the environment itself to show how a perfect society drowned in its own arrogance. Minute to minute, you scavenge for ammo, hack security drones, and dual-wield traditional firearms with biological plasmids that let you shoot lightning or summon insect swarms. You are constantly forced into claustrophobic firefights, where using the water puddles and oil slicks around you is the only way to survive the hulking, heavily armored enemies hunting you. Standout detail. The introduction of the Big Daddy is terrifying. A massive diving suit glowing with red lights, letting out a mechanical groan that shakes your screen before charging through a wall. The audio diaries scattered around the leaking corridors provide haunting, voice-acted final moments of the people who watch the city die. If you want an atmospheric horror shooter with one of the greatest narrative twists in gaming history, The Descent takes about 12 hours. Most open-world games treat you like a superhero doing chores. Red Dead Redemption 2 treats you like a dying man watching his era violently end. You play as Arthur Morgan, a loyal enforcer for an outlaw gang that is slowly falling apart as civilization closes in around them. The story hits because it forces you to watch people you care about make catastrophic mistakes out of desperate, misplaced loyalty. Minute to minute, you ride your horse across massive landscapes, maintain your weapons, hunt for camp supplies, and get dragged into messy, chaotic shootouts. Everything takes time, from looting bodies to brewing coffee, forcing you to slow down and live in the world rather than just sprinting through markers. Standout detail: the camp interactions are incredibly organic. Walk past the fire and you'll hear gang members mourning lost friends, singing, or starting petty arguments. If you come back to camp covered in mud or blood, NPCs will actively react and tell you to wash up before talking to them. If you want a slow-burn Western tragedy with the most realized world in gaming, this demands to be played, taking roughly 50 hours for the main story. Those are 15 Steam games that actually earn the story-rich tag. Drop the one you're playing next in the comments, and subscribe if you want more no-filler game recommendations.